Is it good morning or I don't know. It's 1:37 in the morning as we're recording this podcast. Welcome to Pistons Talk Podcast postgame show. Hope you guys are having a great night. Don't know how many of you guys are up at 1:30 in the morning. You're probably sleeping or getting ready for work if you have TV jobs. But we're going to do this postgame show, go over this game tonight. Pistons played the Portland Trailblazers in Portland. Very first game on this long West Coast trip. So let's get into it. First and foremost, no Ron Holland in this one. He was out with left knee soreness. I think he did injure it last game. JB didn't really say the severity of the knee soreness. They said they're going to get imaging on it tomorrow in Sacramento to see how Ron Holland is doing. So no Ron Holland in this one. Very early on, the Pistons were active, getting steals, and I think they understood Portland's weakness, and their weakness is turning the ball over. They're the worst team in the NBA and just not taking care of the basketball. They're very active. In this first, Sar did have 3 fouls in 3 minutes. He did have to sit. Jalen Duren, I thought, was just phenomenal in this game. Made some really good reads, passing, rebounding. His communication with Duncan Robinson tonight. I almost said his communication with Jalen Duren. I'm tired. Jalen Duren's connection with Jalen Duren was good. Now, his connection with Duncan Robinson was just really good. The way that Duncan was coming and curling off screens, I thought JD was just really alert in this one. Him and Cade. Cade had 10 points in this first quarter. Jalen Duren had 8 points in this one, and the Pistons were able to have a 4-point lead after one. Going into the second, Pistons came out really aggressive. They added to their lead. It just seemed like Portland was a step slow, and they really didn't come alive until Cade did eventually foul out, which I'm sure we'll get into a little bit later. But just the way that the Pistons were executing in the half court, the way that they were making the extra pass, the transition game, I thought was excellent. Sar just came out so damn aggressive with just taking the ball to the basket. He had a lot of backdoor cuts in this one, some putbacks, had a poster dunk in the second quarter, which I missed, which I was really mad, by the way. I had to rewind it and see the highlight again. I drank a lot of coffee to stay up for this one, but no regrets because it was a really good game. Jaden Ivey in the second quarter as well, played some big minutes, finishing, good defense overall. I would probably say one of his better games since coming back from injury. I was really impressed with Jaden Ivey. Would have liked to see him a little bit more, but I understand he's still on a minute restriction. But after the second quarter was over, Pistons go into halftime with a 10-point lead, 61-51. Coming out of halftime, Pistons get 3 quick buckets. It looks like Portland really wasn't wanting to, play the Pistons in this one. They were just forcing so many turnovers. The defense did a really good job of rotating and communicating. And Jalen Duren just dominated them. He had 14 points in the third quarter alone. But in this third, Cade picked up a lot of fouls. I believe he picked up 3 fouls in the third quarter alone, picked up his 5th foul, and he did have to sit. And just some of the fouls, there was a chase down foul, which he probably could have just let Shaden Sharp score the basket, got a foul on there. A Portland Trailblazer player got by him. He tried to poke the ball, get a steal, which he kind of just looked tired at that point, and that's how he did pick up his 5th foul. But to end the third, it was 95-78. Going into the fourth, Blazers really took advantage of Cade being in the foul trouble that he was. He was sitting on the bench for a little bit. He does come back in. This was a 21-point lead at one point. Blazers do cut it down to 10, and then eventually 6, and got the lead once Cade Cunningham did foul out. It was a 14-2 run by Portland. And you have to really credit, I think, 3 players individually for the last couple of minutes of this fourth quarter. You have to credit Asar Thompson for stepping up. He had a huge putback dunk really late in the fourth. You have to credit Jalen Duren for just battling on the glass tonight. He had a put back, missed a shot, got the offensive rebound, scored over Donovan Clingan, who's a pretty good rim protector. And Tobias Harris hit some really big shots down the stretch in this fourth quarter, the veteran that he is. But, I mean, the Pistons were able to survive a Portland Trailblazers just all-time run in the fourth quarter. They win this one 110 to 102. I really thought personally, you guys, we were going to lose this game. I felt like Portland had all the momentum. I felt like if we did lose this game, we would probably point to the fouling very early on. I felt like we are very fortunate to win this game. And I thought Jalen Duren, his post game, his comments were 100% true. He said, we have to do a better job of executing the game plan, paying attention to the details that JB does get prepared for us in terms of like when we have a 15, 20 point lead, like let's execute that in, kind of stockpile it, keep your foot on the gas. There have been multiple games this year where, the Pistons have a lead, like anywhere from a 10 to 15, sometimes 20 point lead. And we have these games down the stretch where we're allowing teams to get back into this game and make it a game. And I think the next step for this team is playing with the lead, sustaining the lead, and, getting some much needed rest with your starters, throughout a long NBA season. They win this one, but I think if they go back and watch, they'll definitely have plays, possessions that they probably could have executed better. But overall, a completely just chaotic game, ups and downs. Felt like it was on a roller coaster. Fourth quarter, complete chest pains. If you guys are a long-term subscriber, I called them the Cardiac Kids last year. That was a cardiac kid type of game. I do want to get into the Q&A part of this podcast. What we're going to do before we get into that is just go over the box score. I do see a couple people that have stayed up late for this post-game show, so I appreciate you guys in the live chat. Didn't know if there was going to be anyone actually watching at 2 a.m. after this game, but shout out to you guys that are staying up. I know there are other people in different countries where it's like normal over there, but see someone in Australia say it's 5:30 p.m. But hey, man, I love it. But let's get into this box score with the Pistons versus the Portland Trailblazers in this one. So Tobias Harris in 33 minutes had 12 points, shot 5 out of 14 from the field. It was just another slow performance night, shooting night, if that's what you want to call it. I felt like he really didn't come alive until like really late into the fourth quarter. He added 4 rebounds and 4 assists, 1 steal and 1 block. Was a plus 17 in this one. Duncan Robinson in 32 minutes tonight had 15 points. Shot 4 out of 14 from the field, 3 out of 11 from 3. I honestly felt like a lot of his catches when he was curling off, coming off screens, most nights I think he makes more of those 3-point shots. But overall wasn't his best shooting night as well. But the Pistons needed his 15 points. Shot 4 out of 6 from the free throw line. Added 2 rebounds and 4 assists as well. He was a +2 in the plus-minus tonight. Jalen Duren, MVP in my personal opinion of this game. Only 24 minutes for Jalen Duren in this one. 26 points. 11 out of 15 from the field. Only missed 4 shots. 4 to 6 from the free throw line. 10 rebounds. 2 assists. 1 steal. 2 block. Was a +16 in this one. Was really impressed with Jalen Duren, just the way he was just picking apart Portland's defense tonight, especially in the third quarter. Portland had no answer for him whatsoever. Cade Cunningham in this one only played 26 minutes, obviously because he did foul out. Had 14 points, 6 out of 9 from the field, 1 for 2 from 3, 1 for 2 from the free throw line, added 6 rebounds, 9 assists, had 5 turnovers in this one. He hasn't really had a high turnover game in quite some time. Was a +11 but again, did foul out very early on in the fourth quarter. I believe it was like at the 8-minute mark where he did foul out. Star Thompson, another aggressive, strong performance by him. 28 minutes tonight, 18 points, shot 50% from the field, 8 out of 16, 50% from the free throw line, 2 for 4. Crashed the glass very aggressively, 12 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals in this one. Past 2 games, he has just been super aggressive, really coming into his own. So really happy for Sar Thompson of just, stacking just good game after good game. And you love to see it out of him. And Paul Reed played a little bit, 4 minutes, didn't do anything, but was still considered a +4 in the plus minus, didn't shoot a shot, set some picks, but overall didn't really play too much. I think it's because Jalen Duren was probable tonight with a sore shoulder. Try saying that 10 times fast. So I think that's why Paul Reed did get a little bit of clock tonight. Isaiah Stewart in this one played 21 minutes, had 3 points, 1 of the 3 from the field, 50% from the free throw line, 1 for 2, 4 rebounds, 3 block shots in this one. Was just really protecting the rim all night. It kind of felt like Shaden Sharp remembered the last time he tried to dunk on Stu and he got blocked. Shaden Sharp still did his thing. Like, don't get it twisted. Still had over 20 points in this one. Was Portland's leading scorer tonight. But I think he remembered the last time he tried to yam it on Stu. Wasn't really trying to try to dunk on him tonight. Javonte Green in an extended role tonight with Ron Holland missing it, had 24 minutes, 6 points, 2 out of 7 from the field, 1 for 5 from 3, 50% from the free throw line, 1 out of 2, 5 rebounds, 2 offensive rebounds, 1 block, 1 steal, was a +10. I believe that he's on a streak right now where he has a consecutive steal for I think the broadcast said 13 straight games, which I didn't even know it was that many games, but he's just been such a bright spot for this team when they need him. Obviously, he didn't score as much as we're used to, but still found a way to impact the game. Karis LeVert, 18 minutes, didn't score a single point. 0 for 8 from the field, 0 for 3 from 3, had 4 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, 1 block. That's why plus minus is weird. He was a +10 in this one. He had 2 possessions in this game, which I didn't even mention, but it made me kind of just say, wow. So he had a possession where he was wide open in the corner for 3. Had time to dribble it, dribbles it, hits rim. Very next possession, he gets a steal and tries to do this reverse layup. He misses it. And Javonte Green was right behind him, thank God, and kind of just cleaned up his miss. But yeah, it's been rough for Karis LeVert. I think going forward, you can't play Karis LeVert and Jaden Ivey together. I've mentioned that before. I just think they're too similar of players. They like kind of getting to the same spots on the floor where obviously Jaden Ivey was productive tonight, but I think you have to find more lineups where Jaden Ivey and Karis LeVert aren't on the floor together. It just doesn't work. I don't know if JB is going to do that. Just my opinion watching these games, I just don't really – I'm not a fan of Jaden Ivey and Karis LeVert being on the floor together. But that's just me. Maybe you guys feel indifferent about that. Maybe you like Karis LeVert and Jaden Ivey on the floor together. I personally don't. Speaking of Jaden Ivey, he had 18 minutes tonight, 11 points, 5 out of 8 from the field, 1 for 2 from 3, 1 assist, 2 steals. Personally, I think this was probably one of his better games since coming back from injury. Thought he did a very good job in scoring in very short spurts. Obviously, still on a minute restriction. Be really curious to see when he does get lifted to around 20 minutes a game to see if we roll with Jaden Ivey a little bit more down the stretch in these games. Danis Jenkins had 14 minutes in this one, had 5 points, 2 out of 7 from the field, 1 out of 3 from 3. Had 1 rebound, 3 assists. And Marcus Sasser didn't play. He was a DNP coach's decision, but that's just kind of the box score with the Detroit Pistons tonight. Um, Going into the team stats, which I just want to say this, like there haven't been many games where the Detroit Pistons aren't getting to the free throw line more than the opposing team. Portland got to the free throw line quite a bit, as you can see. Pistons shot 15 out of 24 from the free throw line, 63%. Got to do a way better job of cashing in on our free throws. But Portland got to the free throw line 29 and they shot 29 out of 43, 67%. But both teams shot miserably from three. Pistons were 7 out of 30. Portland was 7 for 32. Both teams shot 23 and 22% respectively. Pistons just really out hustled the Blazers on the glass, plus 10 in this one, 22 offensive rebounds, man. Like that is just crazy. You look at the field goal attempts, the Pistons had over 100 field goal attempts. Portland only had 74, over 20 plus more possessions. And I think that's because they were just crashing the glass. That's kind of been a strength of this team. Is this the way they can crash the glass and give themselves second and third opportunities to keep scoring? Pistons had 28 assists in this one, 11 steals, 7 blocks, only 10 turnovers. Did a much better job of taking care of the basketball in this one. Portland committed 19 turnovers, and I think that was just the Pistons' overall defense on this one. But did kind of want to go over the team stats and the box score with you guys. I know there are some people that listen to these podcasts, and they're just audio listeners. So if you weren't really aware what the players had tonight, now you know. You weren't really aware of the free throw discrepancy and how the Pistons had over 20 plus more shot attempts. Now you know. Want to get into the Q&A part of this podcast. Do see a couple of you guys that did stay up late in the live chat. Marquez does get the first comment of tonight's post-game show. And his comment is, all NBA teams make runs, so giving up big leads is a secondary issue. The bigger issue is the Pistons complaining every single call. Mark my words, it's going to catch up with them. And I happen to agree with you. Like, there'll be nights where you do give up leads. But I think when you get to a point where, like, every game you can hear them, like, bitching at the refs, and, like, I get refs aren't perfect. They miss calls all the time. But I think Marquez is right. Like, it gets to a point where, like, you just got to get back on defense and, like, don't worry about the refs. I don't feel like every Detroit Pistons player is doing it. There are a select few that jaw at the ref every possession, and you kind of get out of position defensively. But even Asar said, like, I made up my mind after I got my third foul. I was just gonna be aggressive, don't talk to the refs, just play my game. And I think that's a really good, mature mindset. Now, obviously, not every player felt that way tonight. Some people fouled out. You could definitely hear Cade screaming and one. That should have been a foul. Like, obviously, Cade feels like he should get to the free throw line more. And I do agree with him, but it gets to a point, which I agree with Marquez, like, it's going to cost you a game. You're going to get teed up. Just depends on the officiating crew on a night-to-night basis. Obviously, we know there are certain officials that don't always see eye to eye with JB Bickerstaff and Cade Cunningham and the Pistons. But I do agree, like, blowing leads is going to happen, but it gets to a point where you just got to get back and play defense and not worry about the officials if you can. Obviously, there have been games this year where it's just been grotesque and terrible in terms of just like calls down the middle and just being favorable to the opposing team. But I do agree for the most part. Shout to me for doing this so late. Hey, man. We did, I think, 81 post-game shows last year, including the West Coast trip. I think last West Coast trip, probably the coolest thing that happened was Dwayne Casey actually popped in after Jaden Ivey hit that buzzer beater against Sacramento, which was really cool. Kind of motivated me to stay up because you never really know who's watching you when you do make content, when you do post content. I've been told that, people that work for the Pistons do watch my content. They like what I do, which, I love that because, when I did start, the Pistons Talk brand, the podcast. Like, I was just a passionate fan like you guys. Like, I stayed up watching these games. I just loved basketball growing up. And I was like, you know what? I want to make a brand where I get to talk Detroit Pistons basketball every day. And the hobby became a job. Now it's my full-time job of, covering the Detroit Pistons year round. As you guys know, like, we still do a weekly podcast even in the summers when it's dry season. Like, we try to find as much topics as we can throughout the season and in the spring and summer, which I'm very grateful that this team is better now and they'll be playing later into the spring, hopefully maybe into June. Never know, fingers crossed. But I appreciate all you guys who do watch these. Whether it's our post game shows, whether it's following us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, wherever it may be. We do appreciate each and every one of you guys that do subscribe and follow us. But want to get back into a couple of more comments and questions. Got a comment from Australia. Shout out. It's 5:30 p.m. where they're at. Why on God's name is Karras still closing games over Ivy, still taking bad shots, and he's in the way of Ivy and Danis getting more minutes. So I think for right now, this is the answer that I have, and I don't know if it'll change. I think the reason why Karras is getting more minutes over Jaden Ivey is because the Pistons clearly have him on a minute restriction. Now, is there like maybe a 10-step plan for Jaden Ivey when he came back? Like, have him on, 15 to 20 minutes a game for, the first 3 weeks after he came back from his arthroscopic surgery. Maybe you can up it up to like 20 to 24 and then, kind of get him back up to 30. I'm not sure. Maybe that's a thing. But you can clearly tell it's a minute restriction thing. I think that's why Karras right now is getting more minutes than Jaden Ivey. But I do think when he does have games like this, where he's a 0 for 8 tonight, it gets to a point where it's like maybe you do roll with a player on the bench, whether it's a Jaden Ivey who's coming off the bench right now, excuse me, or a Danis Jenkins. He had 5 points tonight. Obviously, he was contributing, but that's a vet that JB is very familiar with from his Cleveland days. I don't like the minutes with him and Ivy personally. I mentioned it at the top of the podcast. I'm not anti-Karras. I'm just anti-Jaden Ivey and Karras out there together. I just don't. I think they're just too similar. It kind of reminds me of the Spider-Man meme pointing at each other. And I know I advocated during the offseason that I thought, Jaden Ivey and Karras LeVert could work together. I was dead wrong because I didn't see him play. I thought he could have complemented and Karras would be kind of handling the ball more and Jaden Ivey could play off ball, which I thought was more of kind of just like a natural strength of his. But it looks really clunky when they're out there together. It really does. I want to get into a couple of more questions. Go Pistons says they were using Tobias like damn Paulo Banchero the last 5 minutes. Honestly, man, like the last couple of minutes, the Pistons were completely cold. If it wasn't for Asar's putback dunk, Jalen Duren getting an offensive rebound and scoring, and Tobias Harris hitting a couple shots down the stretch of this game, man. Like, I'm not really entirely sure if they win this basketball game. Obviously, Tobias has struggled. He's been like hot and cold. I mentioned a couple post-game podcasts ago that I was curious to know if it's just an ankle sprain issue because he sprained his ankle twice this season. Once against the Dallas Mavericks in Mexico City, and he missed like I think 11 games. Sprained it again, but he was only out I think for a game because we had like that 6 games off because of the in-season tournament. So he had a week to kind of rest that ankle. But I don't know if it's an ankle thing. He's just hasn't been the same player as he was last year. And that's completely understandable as he does get older. He might lose a step, but he hasn't just really seemed comfortable Um, just from what I'm looking at, like tonight, he looked very uncomfortable. You could credit Denny Avdia and the Portland defenders for not letting him get to his sweet spots. Backing up to the basket because he's probably him and Gator probably are only two like players where you could just kind of put it down there. Only you could add Jalen Turn too, where you can just put it down in the post and like let them work. But he's just seemed really uncomfortable from what I see. In my personal opinion, I'm not really sure what's going on with him. Maybe it's just a thing where um, he's more of a rhythm scorer, which I think he is, and he needs more touches, or it's just his ankle isn't 100%. Maybe he's playing at like 70%, 75%. But hey, who knows? Piston fan 11 has a comment about the shooting. They need another 3-point shooter. Any way to use Sasser as a gravity shooter? I think there are some combinations in terms of lineups for Sasser to play. I think where it's difficult is the shooting guard rotation is so staggered with Duncan Robinson, with Jaden Ivey, with Karis LeVert, and you have Danis Jenkins kind of playing off ball in certain situations. I don't really know where there's room for him personally. I think you do like his 3-point shooting. You like his ability to create separation and isolations, but I think it's just really hard to find minutes unless there's an injury, unless it's garbage time, and I hate to see it because he's a very talented player. I wish JB could find more minutes for him, but this team is just so deep and, like, you don't want to play him as a backup point guard because we did that experiment last year. I just thought, like, at times it was, like, horrible, and then there were like a couple bright spots throughout the year, but like we know he's not a backup point guard. He's more of just like a undersized two guard that can get you buckets. Uh this was my birthday present. I hope they might give me a belt considering. Man, have you seen how much those belts are? I know Piston fan 11. Happy birthday, by the way. Those WWE Pistons customized belts are like 500 bucks. Like I was gonna it's like, "Hey, maybe I'll buy one." And then I go, like, on I think it was Fanatics. It was, like, 4.95. I was like, "That's a $500 championship replica WWE belt." I'm sure it's nice, but, like, I'm not paying no $500 for no WWE belt. That's insane, man. That is insane, for for a belt. I'm probably gonna do 1 or 2 more, comments, and then we're going to wrap up this post game podcast because I still have to work after I'm done talking with you guys, uploading this podcast for the audio listeners, and also just watching back these press conferences and stuff like that. Um, Karis is Ivy's insurance. Excuse me, I apologize, guys. I'm having a hard time talking right now. Until he's 100% off the restriction. That being said, once Ivy is good, hope Harris is moved at the deadline. Maybe that's it. Maybe Karras is just kind of like an IV insurance until he is cleared. It just seems like that's a favorite of JB, and it gets to a point where a lot of these coaches will play their vets. Maybe he is just a IV, you know, band aid, an emergency type of player you throw out there because you need a vet, you need a playmaker, but I don't know too many teams that are going to take Karras in a trade, especially since he did sign for a full mid level. Obviously, he's on the books for this year and next for around 14 million. You'd probably have to add a player that's worthwhile for a team to um, take him. I'm not really sure. If I had to guess, I think he's still here. Not because the Pistons don't want to move him, just because I don't really think he has that much trade value across the league right now. Um, there's also another birthday in the chat. Happy birthday, you guys, by the way. I just saw it right here. Uh, I apologize if I butchered this, man. I really do. Fat Fat Camiz 1996, happy birthday. Happy birthday, man. I hope you guys enjoy your birthday. Watching me, like, hey, man, I'm flattered that you're watching me talking about the Detroit Pistons at 2 a.m. right now. Um, Last comment, unrelated. Has anyone noticed looking at the schedule, the only times we play the Knicks is on the second night of a back-to-back? Thanks, Adam Silver. I haven't looked at that. I did see that we do play the Knicks soon. I think in January, first week in January, and it is on the second night of a back-to-back. Um, I think it's just like a coincidence, personally. Anytime we play the Knicks, like I think it's must see TV. I can't wait to play the Knicks. I feel like it's criminal that we have to wait until January to play them. Like it really does. Like I know they can't change the schedule, but like, could you imagine Pistons next Christmas Day? That would have been great. Like that would have been like a perfect Christmas Day matchup. Pistons Knicks, but you got Cavs Knicks on Christmas Day. Think the Pistons will eventually get a Christmas Day game. I don't think they have had a Christmas Day game since like the Chauncey Billups, Ben Wallace, Tayshaun Prince days. We haven't had a Christmas Day game in over 20 years, but appreciate all you guys, staying up late with me on this post game show. We will see you guys same time tomorrow around 2 a.m. Pistons will be on the second night of a back-to-back against the Sacramento Kings, the struggling 7-win Sacramento Kings. They did just beat the Houston Rockets recently in their last game in overtime, so we'll get to see Dennis Schroeder, Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan. I looked at the roster today. I was like, yeah, I could see why they have 7 wins. What kind of roster construction is that? But I'll see you guys tomorrow. Hope you guys have a great rest of your night. And as always, go Pistons. Peace.